let me know when you're ready.
All right, good to go.
All right, we'll go ahead and do a call to order. Before we start the monthly reports, I'd like to go ahead and turn the how should I do this, Logan? I've never done this before, actually. So do I just, is Richard around?
Hi.
Hi, Richard. Yeah, so I'm not feeling too hot tonight. I'm not feeling real good. So I'd like to go ahead and move to relinquish chair over to you and let you run the meeting tonight, if that's okay.
Okay.
Yep, sounds good, Steve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. We'll call to order at 7:01. Logan, do you want to do the roll or no need? Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead and do a roll call vote. The members could just state if they're present or not. Anderson,
Here, present.
Artaki. Here. Clark. Present. Burgess. Espiritu.
Here.
Fitch. Glenn. Higa.
Present.
Imamura Udu.
Here.
Mizusawa.
Here.
Sugimura. Suji.
Here.
Whitfield.
Here.
Wood.
Here.
We do have a quorum at this time, Vice Chair, with 10 of 15 members present.
Thank you. We'll begin with monthly reports. Honolulu Fire Department.
I'm not seeing anyone online for HFP at the moment.
Okay. Oh, is that them?
No,
No.
it's just the HFP.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll go down to Honolulu Police Department then.
Hello, good evening. So I'm Sergeant Miller with District 3 Pro City Police Department. This month's stats, I'll start with January. Motor vehicle thefts were at 8, burglaries 5, general thefts at 21, and then vehicle break-ins at 15. And then as of February, motor vehicle thefts are still at 8, slight uptick in burglaries to 12, thefts are down to 17, and vehicle break-ins are up to 18. Any questions?
Board, any questions or that someone on?
Yeah, we have Lawrence online.
Okay. Lawrence.
Just had a general question. You know,
Hey, Lawrence, if you can hear me, you're coming in really staticky. We're not able to pick up your audio too well.
jail time.
Lawrence, it's still staticky. Could you repeat that?
Hey,
Is
Lawrence,
there
this
any
is
man-
Logan. Lawrence, if you could turn off your camera, that might help resolve some of your technical issues, and just use the audio feature, yeah.
Turn off my camera.
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't get any of that.
Oh,
Can you try it now?
Lawrence, just go ahead and try to repeat your question, but yeah.
Okay, as far as mandatory jail time, if
Hey, Lawrence, this is Logan. If you can hear, Lawrence, you're
Yes.
cutting out. If you could just type your question in the chat and Sergeant Miller can respond to you through the chat. We're not able to pick up your audio at the moment.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Just let me know when you get his question. Any other questions from the community? No? Yes. Can you also state your name? Yes.
My name is Stephen Nordstrom. I live on the top of Aiea Heights, and I was wondering, I was going for a walk on Friday evening with my dog, walking down Ka'amilo. And as I was crossing the street, a vehicle was coming up at about a rapid rate of speed at about 60 miles per hour, and barely had time to save my own life, and my dog got hit right in front of my eyes, and the guy just continued to drive. And it was a horrible weekend, and I've noticed, I've only lived up there for 3 weeks. I came from Pamunkey in St. Louis Heights, which is also a crazy street. But I see folks driving up there 40, 50, 60 miles per hour, and I'm concerned that there may be an elderly person, a child, because there's Aiea High School at the bottom of the street. So I was hoping HPD can do something like put up those speed limit or speed monitor radar things, or possibly do speed checks, because I would not want something to happen like to a person or like myself or something. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll definitely bring that up with our community policing team, and as well as our sector. I'm in charge of that sector, so I'll let them know as soon as we finish.
Thank you. Logan, can we check if Lawrence?
Yeah, Lawrence's question is in the chat.
Okay.
I can read it out if you'd like. The question from Lawrence is there any mandatory jail time if someone assaults a police officer?
Mandatory jail time is set by the legislature. At sentencing, it's not always given out though. I believe the law states a 30-day for assaulting a police officer at a felony level. But I have to be honest with you, I haven't followed through if that's ever happened or not.
Okay, thank you, Lawrence. I hope you were able to hear that.
Can I follow up
any-
on that?
Sure.
Okay, as far as whatever laws are in the legislature now, I know that there's a lot of things happening against police officers, getting punched, pushed, shoved, beaten up, but there's no respect out there for law nowadays. So I was wondering, is there any way that one of our representatives can check on that law and see if some way we can make it mandatory? So if you do assault a police officer, you get, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months in jail as a mandatory time.
I think you're directing that to our electeds. Not sure who's online, but
We can follow up.
yeah, okay. Senator Elefante said he'll follow up for you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Oh, okay, Sherwood has a question.
I'd like to go back to the individual that talked about his dog. Is the dog okay, first off?
No.
Well, as a dog owner, I am very, very
No,
sorry to hear that.
My dog died in front of my eyes. It was an instant death. He
Oh
hit
my
the
God.
car and then accelerated faster. He was probably going about 60.
Okay, were you able to get
Absolutely
like, a
traumatic
license
experience.
plate number or any of that?
It honestly happened so quickly that my life, it was in seconds. It was either me or the dog. So I had to drop my leash just to jump out of the way. So I wasn't killed.
Okay. Did you make a police report at the time?
I did not, no, because the guy was gone already. And all I cared about was trying to see if I could save my dog. That was my #1 priority. I'm
I
thankful
would
that I
highly
saw.
recommend that you make a police report.
Okay, I will.
That's the
Definitely.
first step. Second step, you said it's on Aiea Heights Road, right?
It was on Ka'amilo, on
Okay.
Aiea Heights. Yeah.
Right, okay. Is there any kind of like raised crosswalks, any kind of speed mitigation?
There's nothing. It's a straightaway road. The neighbor that came out told me that the car across the street has been hit 3 times in the last couple of years because of people speeding around there's like a little bend before it goes straight down. And yeah, that's what she told me. So yeah, and if you're walking up that street, if you just sit there and watch the cars, they are going like it's freeway speed because it's all pretty much a straightaway. So,
Okay,
but I will
If you
follow.
could. if you could, can you get with with Logan, who's the neighborhood assistant, and give them like an address to where, or pinpoint, just give them an address where the incident happened, And then
Okay.
we can take a look at that and see about maybe implementing some, not just like having police there, but we've had success in implementing speed control measures like raised crosswalks, things like that, to reduce the speeding effects that occur.
Oh, thank you, Chairwood. That'd be great. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
think,
I'm really sorry to hear about your dog. It would break my heart if something happened to my dog that happened to your dog like that. That would just be, it'd be miserable. So really condolences to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwood. I think HPD responding and Russell also had his hand up after.
Sorry, just a quick follow-up. Yeah, please, if you feel the need to, please make the report. There's no real time limit on that, and we'll definitely make that gladly. Can I have the general area where this happened? It's quite a long street. I want to make sure we get to the right area. If you
I
have
would
a
need-
block or
Yeah, I could look up the address and give it to Logan. I would need to look at my phone exactly where the nearest cross street was. It was about halfway up.
okay.
Yeah.
Halfway up. Okay.
Yeah, about halfway up.
Okay.
Sergeant Miller, I'll put the address in the chat once Stephen gives it to me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Russell?
Yeah, I just wanted to say my apologies to the individual gentleman. I walk that area and that street pretty much nightly. And yes, I can attest to the speed of the vehicles. It scares me and scares my dog. We literally run across the street just to get across without getting hit. The downslope, as you got at the top going down, the ending part of Calamito, it's really hard because there's no visibility, and all you got to do is listen to the vehicles before you potentially can get hit if you're crossing the street. So it's very dangerous. I would appreciate the officer taking a look at this area. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from board or committee? Again, our condolences from the board, and thank you for reporting this. Okay. Well, let's go back to Honolulu Fire Department. I think they're online now.
Hello, good evening. Sorry, we were a little late, but we just got back from a call. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email HFD's Community Relations Office at hfdnhb@honolulu.gov. So all the statistics I'm providing is confirmed number of incidents in the neighborhood board geographical area for the previous month. So as far as fires, we had 2 structure fires, 1 wildland or brush fire, 1 nuisance fire, which includes like a rubbish fire outside of a structure or vehicle, 1 cooking fire, and 7 activated alarms with no fires. For emergencies, we had 135 medicals, 11 motor vehicle crashes or collisions, and that's pretty much it. And then for our safety tips for this month is all about smoke alarms. So smoke alarm saves lives and are an important part of our home fire escape plan. Properly installed and maintained smoke alarms give occupants early warning to get out quickly. So when you install you guys smoke alarms, try to make sure there's one inside each bedroom and outside the sleeping areas like the hallways and on every level of the home, including the basements. Keep smoke alarms away from the kitchen or bathroom to reduce the false alarms. And then test your smoke alarm once a month by pressing the button to ensure the alarm is working. If the smoke alarm requires a 9-volt battery, replace the battery each year. And then replace the smoke alarm unit every 10 years or sooner if they don't respond properly. Any questions?
Board, any questions? Community? No, could you state your name for our record?
Yeah, sorry, I'm firefighter Watkins.
Thank you.
Fire Station.
Thank you. Okay, moving down to Board of Water Supply, Tracy.
Sorry about that. Good evening, Chair Wood and Vice Chair Mizusawa. I'm Tracy Burgle with the Board of Water Supply, and with me is Kathleen Elliott Pahinui. She's our Public Information Officer, and she'll be helping me answer some of the questions from last month, but I'm here to give you your monthly report from the Board of Water Supply. I'm happy to report that there were no main breaks reported last month in this particular neighborhood board district. As far as general water announcements go, we wanted to let everybody know about our World Water Day. The Board of Water Supply and participating city agencies are observing World Water Day on March 22nd. The theme for this year is Water for Peace. This internationally recognized event encourages water users across the globe to make a difference by changing how we use, consume, and manage water in our lives. During this observance, you can read inspirational stories and watch videos on the global water and sanitation crisis, find out how climate change impacts our water, and get conservation tips at www.boardofwatersupply.com/worldwaterday and via our social media channels. We just wanted to share that the participating city agencies include the Board of Water Supply, Department of Environmental Services, and the Resilience Office. And that's it for my report. And now Kathleen Elliott Fahinui will respond to the questions that were asked at last month.
Thank you very much, Chair Wood and board members. Community member Claire Tamamoto asked about drilling wells perhaps on the east side of the island versus in this area due to concerns of contamination. The wells we are digging are further up and further west from where they are on the contamination. The other thing too is we provided everybody with a map. This comes from the Commission on Water Resource Management's website. And it just shows you the different yields around the island for the various parts of the aquifer. And if you look in East Honolulu, the yields tend to be very low compared to in the Honolulu aquifer. That's one of the reasons we're so concerned about this area, is because the water yield is very high and it's high quality water. And if you look down in Waialae East, it's only about 2 million gallons per day. And part of that is because the cap rock, which keeps the fresh water from leaking into the salt water, is very thin or almost non-existent in that area versus over in the Pearl Harbor area where it's very extensive and very thick. So that's one of the reasons why we're not drilling wells over in that part of the island. The second question from our community member Higa was about the 75 million that was in a news article from the Department of Health that was offered to the Board of Water Supply, but that we declined the offer. Actually, it wasn't, unfortunately, the news release had some inaccuracies. We've met with the Department of Health and discussed this a couple of times. We've also met with the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, because that's where the money was coming from. Currently, the Board of Water Supply only has about, the DOH only has about $7 million, of which we've applied for some of it, and we're going to get nearly 6 million of it. But there was no 75 million on the table for the Board of Water Supply. And this money is statewide money. It's not specific to our utility. Every water utility on this in the state gets to apply for this money. So we've been looking back at our projects to see what's available. The other thing is it's federal money, which comes with a lot of caveats attached to it, rules that we must follow. And one of it, the parcels is for emerging contaminants, of which we're not still 100% sure that the TPH, the fuel, is considered an emerging contaminant. So we're not really sure. We've asked to get that in writing from the EPA. The other thing we've asked for, or the other part of it was for disadvantaged communities. So we'd have to take a look at our water system to take a look and see what community that might be attached to. But again, it was primarily for emerging contaminants. It would not replace pipes, pumps, reservoirs, or anything along those lines. So there were a lot of caveats to that article that weren't, I guess, clearly explained. But again, we've been meeting with DOH and EPA and will continue to do so on that. Then the final questions, addressing Chair Wood had some questions regarding our tort claim that we filed to preserve our right to sue the Navy. And we filed this last October, and we hope to hear from the Navy next month. It'd be the 6-month time limit. So Chair Wood had asked, you had mentioned that 1.2 billion is a lot of money to construct new replacement wells. Why is it so expensive? Well, one of those wells would be replacing 10 million gallons per day, a lava shaft. And that's very expensive. Back in 1943, when the shaft was first built, it cost almost $3 million. And in 1943 money today, that would be well over $41 million. So we also have to account for labor costs, materials, increased costs for materials, because these projects, because they're production and exploratory wells for drinking water, we can't just sink a hole in there and just start pumping water to the public. It's a very complicated process. We have to make sure, first of all, the production is there, that it will continue to serve the needs of our community. Plus, we have to make sure that it's high quality water. We have to put in a chlorinator. There's a lot of things we have to do that. And these types of projects can take anywhere from 5 to 7 years. So we have to also build in cost increases. And Chair, I know Tracy sent you a link to that filing on our website. So if anyone is interested, the document for the legal filing is on our website, protectoahuwater.org. And it's pretty much at the top, and you can press the link that says something about BWS files claim. And that is our document that our legal team filed. But what I also did share for your benefit, and I'll hand this over to Logan and he can scan and send this to you, is I printed out today the costs, all of the costs for the project. So this is strictly the money part of it. It's not all the other information, which is still, you can look at it on the website. So that way, this way you guys can see what we're putting in for. We did not do the cost estimates. We hired a consultant to do that. And we apologize that the consultant can't be here. They're based on the mainland and given time differences and stuff. So they briefed me on all of this information, and I'll hand this over to Logan. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you, Kathleen and Tracy. Board, any questions? Okay, Lawrence or Chair Wood. Chair Wood, is yours in response to her response?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Lawrence, if we can have Chair Wood ask his question.
Yeah, so the question I have, so is this increasing capability or is it a one-for-one replacement?
Thank you, Chair, and I apologize. You did have those questions and I forgot to answer those. So let me do that right now, sir. To be honest, the current rate increases that we put into effect February 1st, only about 6% of that was even due to Red Hill. So most of our rate increases has nothing to do with Red Hill. The bulk of it had nothing to do tied to Red Hill. If we get this money that we're asking for, we would look at probably our next 5-year increase. And so what would probably happen is when we did our last 5-year increase, 2018 to 2023, the first year there was no rate increase. Then we had 4%, 4%, 2%, 2%. So what that money could do when we consider it revenue, which our board said that any monies coming in from a lawsuit would be considered revenue, that is taken into impact when we do our cost of service study. And that hopefully would then mean much lower rates the next 5-year go around, which won't be until about 2028.
Okay, I know that you're briefing rates later, but the question I had was you're asking the Navy to pay this money, okay? Is that a one-for-one replacement, or are we increasing capability? You said that it would be 10 million gallons. Is that an increase of what we currently are pumping or was pumping prior to the fuel spill?
My understanding is it's a 1-to-1.
Okay. All right. So all this stuff that you mentioned is literally just a replacement of what we currently have.
Yeah, but we are also doing 2 other exploratory wells to help increase that capacity separate from the loss of Halava Aiea and Halava Shaft. So yes, a 1-to-1, but we're also looking to increase capacity in other locations.
Is there something that we could All right, thank you. I'm sorry. I'll relinquish the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chair Wood. I think Lawrence was next and then Russell.
Okay. So as far as your proposed rate increases, you're assuming that you're gonna get money from the Navy. But say if we have a baseline, we don't get any money at all, what would the rate increases be?
So the rate increases have already gone into effect as of February 1st. So the rate increases have already been approved by our board and already are in effect. We don't know if we're going to get any money from the Navy. That's why we filed this claim to preserve our right to sue. We're not banking on anything. We're not going to bet on anything that we don't have in hand right now.
Okay, so with your rate increase of 0 first year, 4 for second, third, 2 for fourth, and 2 for fifth, that'll cover the $1.2 billion cost to drill the additional wells. Is that what you're saying?
No, sir, those rate increases were 2018 to 2023. The current rate increases are 10, 10, 9, 8.5, and 8, I believe. Those are the current, and they will cover several, actually, Ray, do you want to come up for a second? Because I got my budget person here too that can also help us. She's going to be doing the rates presentation later. She's better with numbers than I am.
Yeah, the rate increases were 10, 10, 9, 8.5, 8, and 8 through through June of 2029. And I'm sorry, the question,
We'll cover.
what will it cover? Oh, our operations and capital improvement program for the next 5.5 years.
And it will cover some of the starting for the projects that, those well projects that we mentioned. We have to move forward. We can't wait until we recoup anything from the Navy. We do need to move forward, but as I stated earlier, only about 6% of the ratepayer increases actually are going towards anything dealing with Red Hill. The rest of it is basically just upgrading our reservoir, upgrading pumps, and putting new pipe in the ground.
Okay, so I'll ask again. So that $1.2 billion upgrade to the, I guess, the pump stations, because we have that issue going on in Red Hill, that's going to be covered by those rate increases, the 10, 10, 9, 8.5, and 8. That'll cover $1.2 billion
No,
capital improvement.
no, it will not. The $1.2 billion was the Federal Tort Claims Act. That was our claim against the Navy for the loss of use of our Halava shaft and two different well facilities, a total of 5 wells at those 2 facilities, plus the loss of the shaft. So that $1.2 billion is the replacement of those things. So one for one, I think that's what Chair Wood was asking. Is it exactly what you had before? And yes, that's exactly what we had before. The rate increase is to cover our operations and capital program for the next 5.5 years. That, the replacement of Halava shaft and those 2 facilities, total of 5 to 7 wells, is actually not something we can accomplish in the next 5 to 7 years. So it is not, I guess, the $1.2 billion is not accounted for in our current 6-year program.
Okay, so if it was, I'm trying to look at just the bottom line number, because we all need water. And I'm concerned that everything's going up. Our electricity bill is going up because of Maui. We possibly may have state increases in taxes because of what's going on. But as far as the water itself, bottom line, because of the additional expenses, what would be the rate increase? Is it going to be 20% more to cover that additional wells?
Well, they're not actually covered in our 6-year, sir, immediately covered in our current, maybe some planning and design might be covered. And actually, Ray will be covering that later in a presentation on your agenda. So we don't want to take up too much time answering that. If you don't mind waiting, I apologize.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Oh, and Russell has a question.
I was just gonna note for BWS, I know that drilling and pumping is probably the most expensive source, expensive way to get water above, or potable water above to the consumer. What is the current amount of how much million gallons per day does Oahu use? And what is the breakdown between what million gallons pumped versus surface water? Because surface water is
We use no surface water, sir, at all on our drinking water. We don't, Maui does, we don't, we
I know
don't. use
Maui
any-
does, yeah. And is there
Maui does,
a
but
reason?
Oahu
Because
does not. We
is there
only
a
use
reason because you don't
water.
want to treat it?
There's really not a lot of surface water. In fact, we're working with a number of community groups to help with stream restoration. A lot of the streams really wouldn't provide enough water to supply. We pump on average 145 million gallons per day to serve everyone on this island. And last month's pumpage was about 127 gallons, a million gallons per day. And that's because we're in the rainy season.
Okay, and there's no water, you're not drawing any surface water from Waiahole, Waikane?
No, at all, none whatsoever. That all goes to the Charo farmers and the people that live over there. Thank you.
Yes,
I
Danielle.
I have a question, but if it fits better later on, then yeah, I can defer. But I was wondering if, in terms of the rate increases, is there gonna be a distinction between residential versus commercial? Or
Always,
between resident and non-resident?
yeah.
And
Not between resident and non-resident. Sorry, we have a commercial or a non-residential rate and a residential rate.
are there any plans to make that distinction? I think especially for our community, as we are supplying the majority of metropolitan Honolulu, kind of like as these numbers.
Well, actually, Aiea Halava wells serve only this community.
Right, but you're replacing the shaft, right? And you're.
Yeah, and that goes east towards Honolulu.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
So as we kind of are supplying a lot of metropolitan Honolulu, I'm wondering if there's gonna be a distinction in terms of residential and non-residential. And as
There-
we're supporting a lot of.
Yeah,
No.
there is. The commercial rate is, I guess,
Are you asking really
Commercial.
visitors?
no,
What is-
Are you asking like visitors?
Yeah, where is
Okay,
it?
I was like,
that's-
From the water to Waikiki and
Yeah,
everything.
that's what I
So
thought,
is there-
Danny.
is there
That's
gonna
what I
be a
thought, yeah.
distinction
Yeah.
versus like a multi-generational home? Are they gonna be paying the same rate as?
No,
No.
no, we have a non-residential rate that Ray will get into, and it's a flat rate across the board, no matter what, as long as it's not multifamily, meaning like townhome or condo or a single family. They have tiered rates, and she'll show that more later. But we don't currently, now this did come up when we were out seeking input from the community, and we are going to probably take a look at this at our next cost of service in 5 years when we do this again. We will look at perhaps breaking out some of the industries such as hotels to see if we want to charge them a separate rate. We don't currently do that, but just for reference, when COVID hit, Senator Wakai reached out to us and asked us to take a look at water usage in Waikiki. And what we discovered is the water only dropped about I think it was about 3 million gallons a day. First of all, the hotels still had to keep water running in the hotels, otherwise the systems go bad. They still had landscaping they had to deal with, but the drop in water usage wasn't as good. And of course, there is a population that actually lives full-time in Waikiki. And so there wasn't a huge, also the hotels tend to be very water efficient. And they actually used the time during COVID to upgrade all of their infrastructure and put in good conservation, low flow fixtures and things like that. So we are working with the hotel industry to even do better on conservation because we do acknowledge they are high water users and we want to ensure that they're not overusing our water. But yeah, we are going to look at that the next time around is how we deal with the visitor industry. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Danielle. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, Tristan.
So, I was trying to do a quick math on that 1.2 billion because you're saying you're trying to replace 5 wells based on your $41 million per well. That comes out to basically just a 0.2 of the 1.2 billion. You know, so where's the rest of that 1 billion going to?
Labor, construction materials, we have to put money in for the increase to cost of materials, things like that. And again, that document that I gave Logan, please share it with all of you, and that goes into very great detail on how all the costs were broken down.
it's the shaft
plus 5 wells.
Yeah.
So it's the Halawa shaft, if you look at the breakdown on how we came up with the 1.2, the replacement of the Halawa shaft is the biggest chunk of that. Drilling 5 more wells is a smaller, it's still significant, but the replacement of the shaft is a big
The largest
cost.
cost, yeah.
Because if you break it down from the 1.2 versus 41, that's like 29 shafts basically. Right?
Oh, yeah, I don't think you could drill a Halawa shaft for $41 million.
Yeah, not in
today.
these days dollars.
I
I mean,
think-
I just did a quick back of the envelope just to give a perspective. That's all that was. It's gonna be a lot more because again, you have to account for labor costs. And if we use money, federal money, you know, you have to use the BOBA, the Build America, or BABA, whatever they call it. You have to use American-made products, which is a good thing, but it also tends to be more expensive as well.
Yeah,
But the other thing we are doing, so people are aware, we're actually in the middle of a bond sale as of today. So we are selling more bonds again to help finance and to decrease the cost to the ratepayers. The other thing we're doing is we are absolutely mining every federal pot of money that we can. And we are working closely with our congressional delegation to find other ways we can use federal funds to help reduce these costs.
Because my brother-in-law, he just recently retired from the Board of Water Supply after
Oh.
servicing almost 26 years. And his major was complaining is that you guys are not hiring enough people to replace those that have already left. And he has working tons of overtime. So I mean, that, you guys got lots of problems that you guys got to do on your guys' side.
Well, we are hiring, as anybody knows. I was in Spectrum the other day and waited over an hour to get served, and there's not a lot of people, there's a hard time hiring. It doesn't matter where you are. Right now, it's a hard time hiring. We have been doing pretty well though recently in replacing. The other thing is our retirement level has dropped to about 25% of our entire workforce. It was 51% about 8 years ago, so it's dropped considerably. And we seem to be doing better, but there's certain positions in our agency that are really difficult to fill, things like engineer positions and things like that. It's just hard. Everybody's struggling, the entire city's struggling with hiring. But we appreciate the comment. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the time. Aloha.
Thank you. We'll move down to Stadium Authority. Christine and/or Samantha.
Aloha, Chair Wood, members of the board, and members of the community. I'm Chris Kinimaka on behalf of the Department of Accounting and General Services. And our big excitement right now for the new Aloha Stadium Entertainment District is our procurement process. So we kicked off the request for proposals with the qualifications phase on December 14th. The qualification submittals were due on Valentine's Day, and we were treated to receiving submittals that we're very happily evaluating right as we speak. We anticipate being able to announce up to 3 priority listed offers by either the end of this month or early April. And that's significant because from there, we're going to roll right into the formal request for proposals process. And that is where we start to open up to what we promised, and that's community engagement. So what I'd like to do is just go ahead and share my screen to go through some of the parameters on that engagement. Let's see if I can find it on this screen. Let's see. Okay, great. So the Community Engagement Conference right now is scheduled for May 6th, 2024, 6:30 in the evening. And we are looking at this being an in-person session. We are putting this forward because we want the priority listed offers to start to engage with the community as quickly as possible. Are you seeing my screen? No. Sorry, hit share. That helps, huh? Okay, alrighty. Are you seeing my screen now? Community engagement.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry. All right.
Sorry, we need to make it a little bigger. It's hard to read.
Let's see if I can zoom. Zoom to. Okay, how's that?
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, great. So as I was saying, we have a community engagement conference. We scheduled that for May 6th of this year, starting at 6:30 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. We want to host this in person at the stadium, probably in the conference room. And the reason we're doing this is to enhance each priority listed offer's understanding of your aspirations, your desires, and concerns for the project to help inform their proposals. The primary functions are going to be an opportunity to allow the community leaders to present your aspirations, desires, etc., to the offers, and also to allow the priority listed offers to put out some questions for you to answer them. So we're really looking at an organized dialogue to start sharing and engaging with them. We would like to make this organized, however, and instead of making this like an open hearing with people coming up to the microphone, we're going to ask each neighborhood board, and what we're talking about is neighborhood board 20, your folks, Aiea neighborhood board, and neighborhood board 18, that's the Aliamanu Salt Lake Foster Village and Airport Group, and the Aiea Community Association, to nominate 1 to 3 community leaders to speak at this conference and to highlight all of the information that we're asking for. We're going to allow each board and ACA representation to give a presentation to the priority listed offers. We'll give you up to 15 minutes per group. And then from there, we're going to turn around and ask the questions from the priority listed offers for them to get information from you. We will be asking them for their questions in advance and providing them to you as a community so that your leaders can present your answers in this session. We do want to share, though, the information from this meeting is not going to be formal in the sense that it won't be an official part of a request for proposals or the evaluation criteria, because this is just to give advice. But we are encouraging the priority listed offers to consider your feedback as they start to form their proposals. We are going to facilitate the engagement conference, and we'll go ahead and raise the questions and keep it as orderly as possible. We're not going to reveal the identities of the priority listed offers, team members, or associates in their initial questions that they ask for the community so as to avoid any bias. However, we will be allowing impromptu oral questions and feedback during that session. So please look forward to that. We will send this information over to Chair Wood to share with all of you. We'll be giving you more information to help you organize and get prepared as we move forward. So very happy to give you the information now to make sure you're up to speed when we're ready to move. In additional news then, with that type of engagement underway, the proposals will be due this coming July. We're looking forward to selecting the final offerer, that's your development team, this September, with contracts executed by summer of 2025. And again, that's the great news is we're still on schedule to open for the 2028 UH football season. I did want to hit on 2 legislative items. Senate Bill 3197, we gave our mahalo to Senator Wakai for introducing this bill. It was related to advertising, unfortunately coined a billboard law. It was really meant to help the NASED area with naming rights and signage to help increase the excitement and the immersion of the entire district with inward facing signs, but they were affixed to the outside of the buildings. Sadly, that bill did die. It was deferred, and it is not crossing over from the Senate to the House. There is also a House Bill 2664 that has crossed from the House over to the Senate. And this one is relating to sports facilities. We're giving you the heads up that the House introduced this bill to take some of the appropriated funds that were set aside for the new stadium at NASED, to take that money and give it to the University of Hawaii and to move the new stadium to UH. It also proposes to change the stadium authority to the Halawa Development Authority to create a different kind of district. It doesn't have any more backing or funding for that effort. It passed through the House, even though the overwhelming majority of testimony was against the bill. It is now scheduled for 5 Senate referral committees. We'll be watching for those hearings, and we'll try to give you a heads up, because we would appreciate community support if you'd like us to continue to put the stadium back here in this district and to help revitalize the community. Last but not least, our team did give a presentation yesterday to the Quad Chambers of Commerce at Honolulu Hale. I had not heard that term before. The Quad Chambers are the Filipino Hawaii Chambers of Commerce, the Honolulu Japanese, Hawaii Korean, and Chinese Hawaii Chambers of Commerce. We are going to post a PDF of that presentation on our website for all of you to get the update as well. I guess I'll ask Samantha later if we were also able to take a video of that. We'll post a video if possible. Nope. Okay. But at least we'll give the presentation and we can answer any questions that you may have. Last but not least, our last newsletter was issued on February 26th and is also available on our website. And now I'll pass over to Samantha Spain to give exciting current news.
Thank you, Chris. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to keep mine short because I know there'll be lots of questions for you. So we actually have 3 events coming up. So our first event will actually be March 23rd, and this is the first time that we're actually partnering with the Aloha State Bicycle Racing Association. So they're looking to do a bicycle racing relays within the Circle East area. They're limiting it to 120 participants. This is something new for them as well. So we're working out all the details. They do have registration on their website, and it's www.bikereg.com/ACS if anyone is interested in participating. The next event that we are currently live with is scheduled for May 4th, and that will be in our Upper Halava lot. This will be the Stan Walker and Full Band concert. So this event is actually presented by Big Ben Entertainment. So he is using the same layout and the same guidelines and requirements as the past TMR events that we have had in Upper Halava lot. So end time for that is at 10 p.m. Tickets are available on eventbrite.com. And then lastly, event that we have live sale now is the TMR Major Reja 2024 Festival. That is scheduled for May 10th and 11th. Again, Upper Halava lot, presented by Raymond Ho Jr. Again, using the same layout and the same guidelines and requirements that he has had for his past events. End time will be 10 p.m. And that tickets are on tmrevents.net. And then probably in the next few months, you'll also be seeing 50th State Fair is coming back. So we're very excited for that. So they'll start to be loading in probably starting the next couple weeks. And as well as our swap meet, we'll be working on Upper Halava lot to really get that going so that we can transition them from the Circle East that we have now over to Upper Halava lot in 2025. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Board members, any questions? Tracy?
Hi, Chris. I got a question. I asked you guys at the ending of last year about accommodating SCCA and NASA events. And I was told by one of the organizers recently that that's not the case moving forward right now. So what had changed? Because they were notified that in the interim, they're not going to be having any space to conduct their activities.
I think I can answer that. You're talking the SCCA in the Lower Halava lot, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so we were anticipating moving the swap meet to the Upper Halava lot a little bit earlier than anticipated. However, there's a lot of work to be done right now in that location. So now we are not moving them until 2025 at the earliest, January, possibly March. So I believe SCCA as well as the Hawaii Rally Sports Association will be here through the end of the year, depending on when we have like 50th State Fair and things like that in between. Moving forward for 2025, we currently do not have a set schedule yet. It really depends on if the move for the swap meet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any other questions? Community, any questions? I don't see any, so, all right, thank you, Chris and Samantha. Pearl Ridge Shopping Center, David.
Chair Wood, board members, aloha. My name is David Chinelli. I'm the manager at Pearl Ridge Center. Wanted to take a few minutes and talk about some of the events going on at Pearl Ridge in March and April. There's 19 items on my list. I'm only going to focus on about 6. One, I do want to highlight that Homegrown, which is one of our local tenants. I'm sure very many of you probably know them very well. They are actually expanding. If you know where the store is now, it's on the lower level of our Marca building. They are expanding to upper level Marca in the former American Eagle location. And they will do a soft opening on March 28th, and the grand opening will be April 13th. So again, a local retailer, very, very excited about that. We have a number of performances coming up in March and April, and first is a hula performance that will be held on Sunday, March 24th from 11 a.m. to noon in our Vaimakai or the downtown. And it will be held right in front of Jean's Warehouse. The Kaha, yeah, easy, will be, is a high school jazz band from the Big Island. They actually tour several islands and will be at Pearl Ridge Center on Thursday, April 11th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Marca Center Court. Kailua Intermediate Band will be performing also at Pearl Ridge Center. They will be at the center on Friday, April 12th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Marca Center Court. Emmanuel Lutheran Middle School Band is a middle school band from the island of Maui. They also travel and perform. They will be at Pearl Ridge Center on Friday, April 19th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Marca Center Court. And finally, we have a Polynesian dance performance scheduled for Saturday, April 27th from 1 to 1:45 p.m. at our Marca Center Court. I have to apologize to the high school. That's my report. I'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you, David. Board members, questions, community, online? Okay, thank you, David. Next, we have the U.S. Navy Department of Defense, sir.
Hello, board. Victor Flake, Naval Facilities. I'll be filling in for Lydia tonight, so please bear with me. The Joint Task Force is shutting down. We're now going to the Closure Task Force that's taking over remediation actions, which is really the big one, to clean up the mess that we made. So that's happening now. On February 7th, there was a open house that talked more about the transition. So you can see both the Joint Task Force and the Closure Task Force, what separated the two and how the Navy Closure Task Force is going to move forward with this on remediation. Let me see. There's information about this online. And if you just Google Navy Closure Task Force, brings up all kinds of info. And I have some of that info here with me tonight if you want to check it out. Drinking water long-term monitoring. The Navy will complete the long-term monitoring at the end of this month. But because it's made a deliberate decision to the people of Hawaii on ensuring that the water test results are posted and upcoming, they're going to continue it for 12 more months. So it's real easy to get on. It's on the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam Safe Waters website. Just Google Save Waters, and it just pops right up. And again, I have stuff with me that I brought, especially pertaining this area, like Camp Smith, Halava Housing, Magru Point. You want to see what's happening? I brought it. So, all good. Also, there's going to be a long-term monitoring information booth that's going to be brought out to the public. And March 13th, it's going to be at the Capilina Night Market. March 28th, it's going to be at the Hickam Main Exchange. And again, all information is on that Safe Water website. And Navy continues to work with the stakeholders and regulators regarding Red Hill and the closure and the remediation. The NAVFAC Halava Utility Quarter. That was a big issue with some of the residents bordering that corridor. The concerns with the traffic signals, sidewalks, and other vegetation overgrowth were addressed by our contractor, Sumo, who is installing the new sewer line and water line and stuff like that. Since then, there were more concerns dealing with street striping at the area crosswalks. And Sumo also is addressing that. Abatement reports were sent to Senator Elefante's office and to Aiea Neighborhood Board Chair Steve Wood. So that's in the works, and those issues are either abated or going to be abated. That's all I have. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Board members, question? Yes, Danielle.
Vic, at the CRI meeting a few weeks ago, one of the concerns that was raised pertinent to our community is after defueling and closure and all of that, after the sludge is removed, it's the release of the vapors from the facility. And at that time, and I'm assuming it hasn't been published yet, but at that time, they didn't really have a plan set to release to the public yet. And I guess my request is just that as soon as that comes out, if you could let us know. The concern was that we have these highly toxic vapors after all the fuel and all of that is out. How are we going to release that? How are we going to remediate that so that it doesn't just flood through Halava Valley and down into Puloa? And so that's a huge concern for our community. So as that becomes available, if you can.
Absolutely. Danielle, I wrote that down, and I'll have those guys get back with you. Good question.
Lawrence, you have a question?
Yeah, I read an article as far as our Oahu aquifer. And it takes anywhere from 2 to 25 years for the surface water to trickle down to our aquifer. But on this Red Hill fuel storage tank, since the beginning, they've been spilling fuel every now and then. As far as the fuel that's in the soil now, how is the Navy going to go about remediating and taking that fuel out of the soil?
That information is on the website, but as a matter of fact, I can just tell you it's been going on for a while. Navy's working hard to right the wrong. There's no doubt about that the Navy screwed up major, but they're not splitting. They're going to fix it. And our aquifer, it's unreal. And what the Navy's doing is we got $15 million for watershed protection programs. Now, our watershed is a water making machine for our aquifer. And our aquifer, our watershed actually makes, according to Department of Land and Natural Resources, 2.2 billion gallons of water per day. It's also the Department of Land and Natural Resources that dictates to the Navy and Board of Water Supply on how much water we're allotted to use every single day. Navy is allotted to use 15 million gallons per day. We use a little less than that. I heard what Kathleen said about Board of Water Supply, and they use a little bit less than that as well, depending on the time of the year and the usage. So it's a process, but I know that this fuel breaks down, and as time goes by, it breaks down more and more. This type of fuel that's being used at Red Hill is not like gasoline. It's not even flammable, and I'm a retired firefighter. It's combustible. It's not flammable. So it breaks down quicker and more easy. So that's a good thing. But in the meantime, this process is ongoing. I best thing to do is direct you to the website so you can, any question that you have, you can pretty much get answered on this website. On top of that, I have the Navy Closure Task Force. They have a form right here that you can ask these guys the same question. How are they going to remediate that? And they'll get back with you. So I brought all that information with you so you can see with your own eye. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yep.
Lawrence, you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, on the private sector side, say if you have a mom and pop gas station and their fuel tanks start leaking, EPA requires them to remove the fuel, remove the tanks, and whatever contaminated soil, they got to excavate that and ship it off to somewhere where they can contain it. And they cannot build anything there till the soil is tested clean again. But since the Navy's been there, as far as the EPA guidelines and requirements, how come the EPA is not treating that the same as a private individual?
I don't know, Larry. All I can tell you, EPA is one of our regulators, EPA and Department of Health. They're with us all the time. We're stuck at the hip with those guys. We can't do anything without those guys overseeing. And you're absolutely correct. When they pull the tanks out of the ground, this is the gas stations now. They have to remediate the soil around the tank, and they test it. They test it for fuel. All that stuff has to be cleared out, cleaned before anything can go back. And that's the same what's going on with Red Hill, but at a much larger scale. But it's going on. And thank goodness Congress is budgeting us with the money to do just that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tracy?
Hey, Vic, would you happen to have the date for the Capilina event? The date for the Capilina event?
The date for
Yeah.
Capilina. Capilina, March 13th, 4 to 8 p.m. at the Capilina Night Market. March 13th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no more questions. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you.
Next we will do State Department of Transportation, Highways, AC. Okay. See online.
And here. Oh, okay.
Oh, is he muted?
Oh, you mean? Oh, yeah, just a minute. Now I'm trying to get my screen up here. Let me see. Okay. Let me share my screen here. Hope you guys can see my screen here. Okay, good evening, Chair Woods and members of the Aiea Neighborhood Board, KCR from the State DOT Highways Division. Last month's meeting, there was a concern about the eastbound zipper lane entrance after the Aiea off-ramp being closed. The zipper lane crossover number 4 entrance in the vicinity of the Radford Drive overpass was closed in 2016 when the zipper lane was modified to accommodate 2 lanes. Shortly after the former Radford Drive entrance, the right zipper lane crosses back to the eastbound H1 median lane, while the left zipper lane continues as a contraflow lane and connects to the Nimitz Highway contraflow lane. Unfortunately, the remaining space between the former entrance and the right zipper lane crossing back to the eastbound H1 median lane was insufficient for drivers to merge into the right zipper lane and then merge to the left zipper lane. There was a high probability of an accident occurring during the crossover and weaving movements and would have caused congestion and traffic slowdown in the zipper lane and the eastbound H1 median lane. That's why we closed down that entrance. At last month's meeting, there was a concern about helping the businesses around Gulick Avenue overpass when the overpass is removed for approximately 6 months during the 2-year H1 freeway eastbound improvement project from Ola Lane overpass to Likelike Highway off-ramp. Currently, we do not have any plans to help the businesses around Kulik Avenue because businesses in the area will have access via Kalihi Street, School Street, and King Street. Although vehicles will have to take a detour to get to the businesses located on the Mauka and Makai side of the overpass, we are providing a temporary bike and pedestrian bridge. If businesses feel that the DOT should provide more assistance, they can contact their elected officials who can talk to our Director of Transportation. I apologize, but I'm still working with our Oahu District Maintenance Office to schedule the pothole repair on Ulini Street. They've been backlogged with addressing a lot of tort claims caused by potholes throughout the island. I will need to report back at a future meeting. On February 14th, I received an email from Tricia Riopele from Council Member Raiden Cordero's office with a concern from a constituent about fixing the shoulder lane on the Moanalua Freeway westbound towards Red Hill due to our restriping of the existing pavements that added another lane for vehicles. Our Moanalua Freeway resurfacing project is scheduled to start at the end of April. And finally, at last month's meeting, there was a concern about a homeless encampment near the Aiea Heights Drive overpass. During my field investigation, the encampment was located along the Aiea Place. The access gate was missing, which allowed the homeless to set up camp in the tree line between the freeway and the security fence. Our homeless coordinator will work with our contractor with removing the homeless encampment by this Friday, while I work with our Oahu District Office to install a new gate to prevent future homeless encampments. I will provide a follow-up report at a future meeting about the new gate. During my field investigation, I realized there was a pedestrian walkway between the freeway and Aiea Bow area with a lot of overgrowth. Our maintenance contract was in the area, so they cut the overgrowth. This picture shows the overgrowth has been removed at the other end of the pedestrian walkway. I did notice a hole in our fence, so I informed our Oahu District Office to repair the fence. I'll report back at a future meeting when the fence is repaired. I did notice a lot of trash and graffiti along the Aiea Heights overpass near the 7-Eleven store. I am working with our Oahu District maintenance crew to address this island-wide graffiti problem, but due to our manpower shortage, it may take a while. I would like to thank Representative Sam Kong and his Lions on the Move Club, who volunteered their time to help the State Highway Division with our island-wide graffiti problem. Last month, their club helped paint over the graffiti along Kamehameha Highway that is within the Pearl City Neighborhood Board area. Last week, I got to talk to Representative Kong and coordinate with our administration to provide the paint for his Lions on the Move Club to assist with painting over the graffiti. So we will be very grateful and appreciative to Representative Kong and his Lions on the Move Club if they can assist us with painting over the graffiti and cleaning up the trash along the Aiea Heights Drive overpass. This concludes my report. I can take any questions at this time.
All right, thank you for responding to all the concerns from the board with that update. Any questions, board members? Community? Lawrence?
Yeah,
Lawrence.
I had a question. I'm not sure if Kamehameha Highway is part of your district or your area, but as far as there's a bridge that's by American Savings Bank as you're coming out from Pearl Ridge going leftbound into town. And it seems like the interface between the bridge and the asphalt, there's a lot of cracks happening over there. So I was looking at where the rail piles are, and I was wondering, do you guys normally make bridge checks like annually, or how often do you check bridges structurally?
We normally check the bridge every 18 to 24 months.
Okay, for that particular bridge, it seems like, I'm not sure it's vibration, but something is affecting the interface between the bridge and the asphalt. The asphalt directly adjacent to the bridge keeps popping out. So when you do your inspection, if you notice cracks, do you guys mark the cracks to see if it's growing?
I would have to go check with our bridge section who does the bridge inspection, but I would have to investigate and get back to you on that.
Okay, because if that's happening there, my concern is all along the rail route, if there's bridges in the adjacent areas, all of those bridges may need to be checked also.
Okay, I will check out that bridge and also talk to our bridge personnel to keep them aware of the situation.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will be now going down to board business. First thing is OCCC engagement workshop findings. Kathy Hoshar. Is she online?
Yep. Hi. Actually, our team is going to present for us, so I'll
Okay.
let them get to it. Thanks so much for having us.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Can everybody see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. Aloha, Chair Wood and members of the Neighborhood Board. My name is Caroline Weitzel, and I'm joined by Kathy, Dean, and Krisha. We're grateful to be here tonight to share our preliminary findings from our engagement, including the workshop we held on February 1st at the Aiea Elementary School cafeteria. We especially want to thank the Neighborhood Board and the Aiea Community Association for helping us spread the word, for attending, and for allowing us into your community. We want to acknowledge your commitment to following our project and that your community will be immediately impacted by the location of OCCC. As we mentioned before, this is our team from the University of Hawaii at Manoa, led by Kathy Hoshar, Lorinda Riley, and Dan Mills. As a refresher, this is a rough timeline of our OCCC project and how we factor into this. As you know, the project has long been in development by the team led by AHL. Our work is independent of this and is intended to augment and inform the development of a future RFP to select a team to design and construct a new facility. We are not the team developing the RFP or responding to the RFP. Our UHCDC work is shown in here. We hosted a symposium in the fall and a community workshop on February 1st. We presented our preliminary findings on March 6th at the Hawaii State Capitol, and we are presenting them again here tonight. At this point, we've conducted over 100 talk stories with impacted individuals, family members, direct supporters, caregivers, victim organizations, cultural and spiritual leaders, community members, and elected officials. We also visited the jail, prison, residential stabilization and treatment centers, transitional housing, health centers, cultural preserves, churches, vocational and navigation programs to spend time learning from others in their own environments. Our fall 2023 Breaking Cycle Symposium emerged from these conversations with the community that expressed the need to bring stakeholders together to address these overlapping cycles as a collective. At the end of the symposium, we led a workshop that asked table groups to focus on 4 different topic areas, which were prevention, diversion, correctional culture, and reentry. We presented our findings from the symposium out on March 6th. The slides from that presentation are on our Breaking Cycles website. They are similar to these, but include more detailed action items and next steps for prevention, diversion, and correctional culture and reentry. Tonight, we're going to spend more time on the workshop we held in Aiea. On February 1st, we are fortunate enough to be joined by many of you for our community engagement workshop, which was more focused on the new facility. Despite the pouring rain, over 60 people attended. We had updates from the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, formerly PSD, Auntie Fran Dudois from Waikiki Health, and Pastor Scott Sonoda. Again, thank you to everyone who participated in this.
For the Aiea workshop, we asked people for their thoughts and wisdom about the area or the Halawa Ahupa'a. The notes highlighted are opportunities to connect with the new stadium development, understanding and integrating cultural history of the Sacred Valley, opportunities for ecological preservation and Malama Aina, and consider relationships to other towns. We also asked people for their thoughts about the area more immediately adjacent to the proposed sites, and people highlighted opportunities such as industrial neighbors and stadium development. People also highlighted challenges such as the need for transitional housing, access to services, medication, and case management. Also, with it not being in alignment with the Sacred Valley, safety concerns, need for a closer bus stop, and the general low visibility and integration. Both workshops asked participants to prioritize where they want to invest resources across the justice system or care continuum. The dots indicate that most would prioritize prevention and diversion, and participants were also asked to identify programs and program partners based on the overwhelming call for more community partnership. This is a long list of job, education, cultural, health, housing, and family programs that we will examine further in our upcoming monthly meetings. Participants were also asked to identify which programs were better located on-site, off-site, or in between to serve both incarcerated individuals and the general public. The current proposal, by AHL includes a transitional facility, and this still serving piece is also something we hope to explore further. The importance of maintaining human relationships with self, family, community, the Aiea, and the spiritual world were core to many of our conversations and in alignment with models for holistic well-being used by other organizations and scholars. People also reinforced the importance of reensuring that on-site programs connect to off-site post-relief support. Individuals mentioned faith pods and cultural pods in other facilities that group individuals by their reintegration programs rather than by their status or offense. These hands-on co-design exercises at both workshops illuminated a few shared strategies for organizing the different programs or functions on site. People noted the importance of separating sentence and pre-trial populations with programs at the center. They also talked about a community facing the front of the facility with family support, cultural programs, and case management. There were also many program-centered configurations that place various educational, cultural, and spiritual programs at the center of the new facility.
And the co-design activities also reflected different site design priorities that relate more to the physical environment. People liked the idea of a central open green space, smaller landscape areas, and smaller living units for the sentenced population and transitional housing. They also suggested progression or graduated housing that allows for a step-down process, a campus approach, and enclosed courtyards for more open space access to gardening, aquaponics, lo'i, and nature. All of this feedback will shape the proof of concept designs that our UH Community Design Center will produce in the next few months. Since our findings are still preliminary, we don't have a final recommendation. Instead, we want to share our questions that will guide our work over the next few months. So first, can we build this continuum of care, which includes supportive housing, mental health care centers, drop-off facilities for individuals in crisis, police training, diversion programs, transition and reentry facilities, and more? We need the entire continuum for this to work. Second, can we connect this continuum? A system will only work if its parts are working together. The community needs to know about a crisis phone line, police need to know about a crisis center, judges need to know about alternatives, providers need to understand how to work with corrections, paperwork needs to be less of a barrier. This points to time and resources needed for communication, training, education, all of which requires leadership. Can we also consider a hybrid facility like this one in Davidson County? This is a 1,000-bed jail with a separate 60-bed behavioral care center also run by the Sheriff's Department. Qualifying individuals are offered the chance to participate in this treatment program. They are booked by the DA, but upon successful completion of treatment, the DA agrees to expunge the charges. What can cultural and Aiea-based programs and spaces look like in a short-term facility on a small property? We look forward to moving into our design phase with this question on the top of our mind. And for existing systems, can we invest in low-cost, high-impact projects that increase well-being? Whether these are training programs or small CIP investments, can we plant a few seeds to invest in changing correctional culture among the staff today to meet the new mission and vision of the department? A new building will not change the system. The system is made up of the people. Finally, these are our upcoming points of engagement. I want to highlight a virtual session on facility programming and design on April 12 at 9 a.m. and our community of practice meetings that we'll co-host from April through June. We'll also provide updates on these community or practice meetings every month at the Aiea Neighborhood Board and the Community Association meetings if you'll have us. This will be open to all. Again, feel free to contact us at any time. We'll continue to meet and visit people who are interested in working with us. And with that, we're open to questions and comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for sharing your presentation. Board members, any questions? Community? No? Okay, we'll look forward to engaging with you guys in the coming months. Thank you. Next is Board of Water Supply rates presentation. So, Ray.
Thank you, Vice Chair and members. Okay, so I'm gonna go quickly. Okay, so I'm Raylan Nakabayashi with the Board of Water Supply. Oh, I have this there. So I won't spend too, sorry, it's a little off, but I think you guys have our materials too. I won't spend too much time. We do run a pretty large and complex system. And like Kathleen mentioned, it's over around 145 million gallons of day to deliver water to about 1 million people. We are a semi-autonomous agency of the City and County of Honolulu. We are solely funded by our ratepayers. We receive no funding from property tax. And the rates we're here to talk about today apply only to water, not sewer. They were approved by our board and went into effect on February 1st. So the sewer part, wastewater charges, are managed by the Department of Environmental Services. So in our last rate setting period, which covered the years fiscal 2018 to 2023, we were able to accomplish almost 500 projects. And that was about $770 million in planning, design, and construction. But inflation has decreased our purchasing power. So this is something that we went through with our cost of service study. So inflation is shown in the green line over the same period, our rates that went from fiscal years 2018 through 2023. Inflation was at about 20.95% over that same period. Our cumulative rate increase over that period was about 12.5%. A lot of that, I've heard another board member mention, electricity, everything is going up. Same for us. One of our biggest costs to operate our utility is the cost of power to produce or pump all of that water and move it. So in fiscal year 23, our electricity costs were about 33 million. And that was nearly 20% over what we had budgeted for that. There was also mention and discussion earlier about our requirement, and we have to move and respond now to what is happening with Red Hill. We did shut down our Halawa Shaft, Halawa wells, and Aiea wells. We're operating currently without that capacity. So we're moving and working on monitoring wells and exploratory wells, and we need to replace 17.5 million gallons per day of capacity. It was also discussed earlier how the full impact to this is yet to be found. We have to start these projects, but we won't know till we get through all of this. And how, I guess, did we address or cope with that loss of purchasing power where our rates did not really keep up with inflation? We really belt tightened over the last 5 years. As an example, our budgets only increased, they're essentially flat from fiscal years 23 to 24, despite the high levels of inflation. We also, the reason we belt tightened too is we chose not to pass on, we call it a power cost adjustment factor. So when the power costs are different from how we thought they would be when we performed our cost of service study, the rate schedule allows us to pass that on to the customers, but we chose not to. And we deferred purchases of replacement vehicles and other equipment, and we deferred less critical capital improvement projects. So there was talk about, I guess, this current rate setting period or this next 5.5 years that the rates are effective and where that money is going. So this is just a breakdown of where the money goes. I mentioned electricity is one of our big cost factors. Also about 25 to 30% of every dollar that is paid to the Board of Water Supply needs to go back into reinvesting into the system. So into our capital improvement program, whether that be through cash or financing. So that's a debt service figure there. And our strategy through the cost of service study and then the setting of rates is, of course, to strike a balance. We provide a critical service, so we need to focus on continuing to be able to provide the service that we provide. And we struggle to keep the budgets tight and flat over the next 6-year period to balance the safe and dependable with rate affordability. So there were also questions on, and it's very, I guess, unfortunate and confusing that our tort claim was about 1.2 million and the CIP projects that we have planned over the next 5.5 years is also 1.2 billion, but they're not the same. So the tort claim was specific to Halava Shaft and the wells that we had to take offline. This capital improvement program is all of our capital improvement program over the next 6 years. So it includes source projects, it includes pipeline projects, security facilities, pump renewals, and then storage is in reservoirs. So Kathleen mentioned too, we threw out that only about 6% of this 1.26 billion is actually projects for directly related to Red Hill. So you kind of see that in the yellow area. So we're drilling some monitoring and exploratory wells that we're drilling them now. We won't know if they will actually result in production facilities, or we won't know if we can actually turn them into viable pump stations until likely the later half. So maybe we'll get one well in by fiscal year 29, but there are still many more to go. And this doesn't even touch replacing Halava Shaft. Okay, and then board member FB asked about customer classes. So this is how the board breaks up its customer classes, and then also this is how we structure our rates. So there's a single family residential and multi-unit residential rate. Here's a breakdown of, I guess, how many accounts those are, how much water they're using, and then the first part of setting rates is the cost of service. So single family residents only pay about 95% of their costs to serve them through our rate setting. And the way that that's made up is if you see the non-residential in orange, they're actually paying 117% of what it costs to serve those customers. And we also kind of covered this earlier. So this was the rate increases. I'm sorry, I didn't update that slide. They became, the first 10% increase became effective on February 1st, 2024. And it'll go 10, 10, 9, 8.5, 8, and 8 as noted on the dates below. And Kathleen also kind of mentioned this earlier. So residential customers, they have a tiered structure for rates. So the cost per 1,000 gallons increases depending on usage. Same for a multifamily residential. And we were able, or through this rate design and this rate setting period, we limited the rate increases for that first 2,000 gallons. So it's far below the cost to provide that 2,000 gallons. But we decided to keep that, what we call our essential needs tier, at below cost to provide that 2,000. And if you just, this is the, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so the blue was the current rate breakdown across the tiers. The way that we were able to keep that first 2,000 at far below or like subsidize the actual cost to provide that first 2,000 was to shift the cost burden of that to the fourth tier. So that's the customers that use more than 30,000 gallons in a single month. Also, through the rates that our board adopted, we continue with our conservation programs. We actually increased recently too, right? The low flow, sorry, I'll take that as well. Our low flow toilet rebate has actually increased to $100 from 45. And we continue to promote and try to get the information about the rebate program out. And we've added new water conservation programs. So we are, as Kathleen mentioned, doing direct outreach with top water users. That includes our hotels, other businesses, condos, and townhomes. And we recently just kicked off a direct install program for Kapuna living on their own. It includes water audits and fixtures, replacing, I guess, like the low flow toilets, making those recommendations at least, or installing aerators. And that is it. I hope I didn't take the full 10 minutes. I was trying to be respectful for your time, but any questions?
Thank you. Board members, questions? Yes.
I don't know if this is an infrastructure issue and it would add too much cost, but has there been any exploration in terms of using recycled water for non-consumption uses, even in things like homes? So like we use drinking water to flush our toilet, things like that. If that's something that's right now like feasible, or?
There is only one recycled water plant on the island of Oahu, and that's in Ewa, the Honolulu recycled water plant. It does take a significant amount of infrastructure. You'd have to run potable and non-potable lines. So Ewa, as they developed on the master plan on that side, they are installing potable, non-potable systems so that they can use the non-potable. There is no other recycled water plant though that is producing, and that, yeah.
To that scale.
Yeah, so we don't have the ability to, you know, bring all of the non-potable water. Right now, it's all used on the Ewa plane.
Lawrence, you have a question?
Where's covering that $1.2 billion upgrade because of the Red Hill issue? That wasn't part of your presentation, but I'm curious, you know, how much more is it going to add to our water bill if we don't get any assistance from the Navy? Is it going to bump it up another 10%, 20%? Because in your presentation, you said everything's paid by ratepayers.
Yeah.
We're not funded by the city. So I'm curious, because like I said, everything is going up. Our electricity bill is going to go up. Our water bill is going to go up. We might get more state taxes because of what's going on. Is there any way to project out what that increase would be?
So through the cost of service study, which is the precursor to rate setting, we look at what our operational costs will be and then the capital investments that we're making. The $1.2 billion to replace the Halava shaft and the 5 wells and 2 monitoring wells that are all offline because of Red Hill, that was not a part of the cost of service study. It goes very deep into when the projects are starting and what they are. So I don't think off the top of my head or without, you know, redoing the entire cost of service study to slot those projects in, I don't think I could give you like, you know, it would be 10 cents more or 10% more. You'd have to redo the cost of service study based on when we're slotting those projects in. And at this time, because we're only at the stage of drilling exploratory wells, so we don't actually know where we're putting these new facilities. We don't actually know if there is a viable Halava shaft deeper in the valley. It would be hard to plug that into when we can build.
And a second question, some places in California on the West Coast, they're using desalination plants to provide fresh water. Is that something that was considered as far as providing fresh water?
Thank you for that question. We're actually building our first desalination plant in Palailoa. So that should be complete by 2026, early 2027, some around there. So we just awarded that contract, I want to say a year or so ago. And if you go to my slide that has where's the $1.26 billion and 132 capital projects, so that yellow section of the graph, that's actually where you'll see costs for that Palailoa desalination. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, and with that, from my understanding, those desalinization plants take a lot of power to,
They do.
yeah, so where is that power coming from?
So right now, we're only using a small portion of the land to build the plant. There are plans as we continue on to look into PV, though that will likely not be enough. The solar will not be enough power to run that plant, but that solar is something that will be installed with the desalination plant.
Okay, because as you know, right now, we're already borderline as far as providing power for the island of Oahu, because they took off the coal fire plant out in Barbers Point. It wasn't Hawaii Electric, it was our representatives that made that drop dead time when they had to shut it down. So as far as relying more on Hawaii Electric with a PV, I don't know, is that something doable?
From the eco perspective, like can they take on the load of operate? So I believe in the design part, these are all the things that were worked out between, for the actual design of the plan. I'm sorry, I can't really speak for HECO, but I believe this is all covered. And then the photovoltaic is supposed to help offset the, I guess the need for the commercial power. It won't cover the entire plant's operation, though.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Russell?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, maybe I missed it in the news articles, but I don't recall reading about any confirmed contamination occurring to any of the wells or aquifer or water sources that BWS is using at Red Hill being caused by the Navy's release of petroleum products. Am I missing something or what?
No, you're correct. My boss decided to shut these things down in an abundance of caution. So there were groundwater models that were released that showed definitely the possible. There were many tracks that they modeled of where the groundwater is moving in the aquifer, especially with unnatural things like pumping. And something as large as Halava Shaft, pumping at its normal 10 to at peak 15 or more million gallons a day would definitely influence the way the groundwater moves. So it would move cross valley towards our sources. So Ernie decided we were going to, in the abundance of caution, because NAVFAX, I think he would tell you, they serve 93,000 customers. We serve 1 million. If that entered our water system, it would be devastating. So we shut it down.
I understand, but we're increasing rates and charging the ratepayers, but there has been no contamination or proven contamination of BWS's water source. You just don't get the connection. Yeah, it sounds like it's anticipatory contamination, yet we'll be seeing the rate increases right now, as soon as you guys implement.
Yes, so the cost of service study though was to study our costs for the next 6 years. So the cost to rebuild a Halava shaft or to even drill all new wells to replace Aiea wells and Halava wells is not something we can do in the next 6 years. So that cost is not built into the rate increases that we need just to continue operating for the next 6 years. I don't want to speak for Ernie, but I believe we would feel that it is far too late to do something when you've introduced contamination into your water system. So we would not wait to contaminate our water system, distribute that contaminated water to do something about it. That is why we're looking now for replacement sources.
I understand that, but BWS has filed a claim with the
Yes.
Navy, right? Under the Federal Torts Claims Act, an actual loss, I guess a claim. I think
for the loss
for no damages per se yet, but potential damages that would have occurred had BWS continued to utilize the existing source, but instead BWS is changing its source, so it's shutting down the shaft and It's not gonna use that source, so probably there'll be no contamination ever on the Halava shaft or whatever the sources you were drawing upon. So I just don't see the connection. I'm sorry, but can move on. I'm sorry. I don't mean to take up too much time. Thank you.
Can I share? So Russell, when you had asked, you mentioned aquifer. So the aquifer is contaminated. And so that's, I think, to what they were sharing. So like the aquifer itself, the source, we have a sheet here. I think it was on the slide, but the
But
same
that would mean that
aquifer,
we have drank in, we in our community would have drank such
not necessarily,
contaminated
so
water.
it's the same water source. It's as if you have like a bowl of shave ice, right? And you have two straws. It's the same bowl. And the oil, the contamination is in that bowl. One straw, which was the Red Hill shaft, right? Like in December of 2021, tested at 350 times the legal drinking limit for jet fuel out of that. And so at that point, BWS shut down the Halava shaft. And so it was that other straw, but the bowl itself is contaminated. And so that's, I think, kind of the issue and the point. At the most recent CRI meeting, there is still a visible film, like a EPA official went that day to someone's home and there was a visible film of fuel, and that resident was in the audience that day, and yet the shaft that they're drying from is testing clean. And so that speaks to, I think, the contamination of the water system. And
Was
in
that a
hearing,
was that a resident of
it's a joint base
civilian
power.
resident, a civilian resident versus military resident? I'm talking in Aiea community versus Aliamano or Red Hill, anybody on that system.
Yeah. So it's a joint base Pearl Harbor Hickam resident. So it's on the
Right.
quote
All
unquote
right.
Navy
Okay.
water
Yeah.
line.
It's
But
it's
I
that water
suppose,
source, but it's a federal water source. What I'm asking is about the BWS water source to the public, because the ratepayers that we're the ratepayers. My neighbor, me and my neighbor is going to be the ratepayers, right? And so
I
we're going
also
to be
live on the civilian water line. So yeah.
yeah, but it doesn't appear that the civilian source of water, or am I incorrect? Has the civilian source of water been contaminated?
No, the civilian source of water, the aquifer itself has been contaminated. The water system that distributes the water has not been contaminated. But should it be contaminated, you cannot just flush the system. You would have to create a new one. But let's say that contamination happens. It takes about 10 years or more to create a new system. That's 10 years of no water. You know, like if the civilian water system gets contaminated, we will have no water system to distribute water to the community. You have to do that proactively. Because once the water system is contaminated, you cannot just flush it. So should it become contaminated, we have about a decade to build a new system, and so that's what they're doing now. Because once it becomes contaminated, you cannot like not have water for that decade that it would take to build a new system. You can't wait for it to happen. And so I think that's part of what they're saying. I mean, you would have to truck in water and things like that. Like you wouldn't be able to pipe that to your home, or you would run the risk of that residual coming through the pipes, which is what we're seeing with the Navy water line.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Board members, any other questions? No. Lawrence.
Okay, I just wanted to add something. You know, the Navy keeps saying that they meet EPA requirements. I Googled EPA testing for water, and what they do is they run the water and then they take a sample. But normally people in Hawaii, when you want to drink a cup of water, you put the cup under the faucet, you turn it on and you drink it. So the way the Navy's testing the water is not actually realistically the same as what everybody else is doing when they're drinking water. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. All right. Community members, questions? Yeah? Okay. Thank you for your presentation.
Very much. Thank you for your time.
Okay, board business item number 3, certificates of recognition for Mike Dwyer and Lynn Bass. Do we have this certificate? We're voting to
Yeah.
create them, or?
Sherwood is still online. I don't know if you want to take it or I can explain it if not.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still here. I just, Logan and I were talking, or I went to Logan, I asked him, I said, is there a way we can recognize some long-term board members that, that contributed to the community? And he said, yes, and we can do it this way. But it would have a little bit more impact if the vote went forward. That everybody's in agreement to recognize the 2 previous board members.
Okay, so if we vote to create these, would you be able to help us put?
This vote that you guys basically want to give these certificates.
Okay.
to,
Okay. I think we've done this in the past, no, but, okay.
So where would the certificates come from though?
So my office can generate just basically I sent some draft templates to Chair Wood, and we can. It's nothing it's nothing extravagant. I tried running it by my bosses for like plaques and like frames and stuff, but basically it would just be like a paper certificate with a similar to what you guys received, if you remember when you guys were elected at the start of the term.
Right. Because CM Cordero actually made a certificate for former board member Vasquez on her last night here.
Yeah, this would just be from the board to past board.
Okay. Okay, just to formalize it then, I'll entertain a motion to approve creating certificates of recognition for Mike Dwyer and Lynn Vasquez as former board members of our board.
So
Thank you, Paul. Okay. Tracy, second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so I think Chair Wood will take it from here with Logan to
Yeah, well, we're
create.
taking care of them. It might be on the agenda.
To give it to them, yeah. Okay, well, let's hope that they can join us here virtually. Okay, last board business item is approval of regular minutes for the last month's meeting, February 13. Can I entertain a motion to approve and accept?
Motion to approve.
Okay, can I get a second? Okay, let's quickly take a look at the minutes. If there are any changes, please note them. Okay, well, if not, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you everyone for sticking with us. We will now go down to residents/community concerns. Are there any? Yes, can you come up and state your name?
Aloha Chair, members of the board. My name is Keegan Flaherty. I'm with Aiea. You may remember our company, we presented our new affordable housing project in Aiea, Hale'olipoa, back in November. I'm just coming up here to make a quick announcement that we're going to be having a town hall meeting to serve as a space for the community to come together with us. We're going to share specific details again about the project for a couple hours, beginning of April, where, we want to solicit feedback, really be sensitive to the community and, just share details on the project. And then we plan on coming to the April board meeting as well to do another presentation. So that is planned for April 8th, tentatively at 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock at the Aiea Intermediate School. So what we'll be doing as well is sending out, invitations and flyers to all the residents within the surrounding community within 400 feet of the project site. I'll also be sending Logan the flyer with that information as well to put on the Google Drive and to share with you folks. But other than that, if you do have any questions and if anybody wants to be sent the flyer to their email, please reach out to ikenakea.com. You can go on there and submit a form request and we'll send it over to you. That's it.
Okay, thank you for coming to share that. Logan is putting the site in the chat for anyone interested. Okay, any other residents or community concerns? Okay, oh, yes, sorry. Robert?
Hello, Chair Wood, Vice Chair Mizusawa, members of the board and guests. I'm Robert Sato with Councilmember Cordero's office. I don't necessarily have a concern right now, but I just wanted to make an announcement before it gets too late and everyone leaves. I'm dropping in the chat information on an Earth Day cleanup that's going to be occurring on April 20th. The city's Department of Facility Maintenance, Stormwater Quality Branch holds this every year. Let me share my screen really quick. So it's going to be along the Pearl Harbor bike path from Aiea all the way through Waipahu, different locations. And Councilmember Cordero and our team is going to be at the Best Buy, Aiea Best Buy location with this nonprofit group, Hawaii Water Environment Association. It would be great if we see everyone there. In the chat, I did drop a link to the ENV website events calendar that has the events that the cleanup events that they are holding, and you can look at go to that calendar, and if you find any events that you want to participate in, including this one, it's not up yet, but they will be putting it up soon. You can sign up there.
Okay, thank you, Robert. But just FYI, your flyer says February. You want to change that?
It's April 20. Sorry, I put up the wrong one. They changed the date. Sorry.
Okay. If anyone has any questions, let's ask them during Councilmember Cordero's report. But thank you for sharing that. Any other resident community concerns? No. Okay. Elected officials, State Governor Josh Green's representative Janelle Sanishi. She online?
Hi, I'm here. Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, and members of the public. I'm Janelle Sanishi, representing the Governor's Office and the Executive Branch. I didn't receive questions from the last board meeting, so I'll make it real brief. It's been 7 months since the Maui fires, and it's still top of mind of the governor and many of the state departments, as well as the legislature. Much focus has been on providing long-term housing for the survivors of Maui and getting schools back open again. Their budget bills, the emergency appropriation bill is moving through the legislature. So in other news, on Oahu, the governor has opened its second and third kauhale to help house the homeless. One in Kaneohe and one in Honolulu on Middle Street, near Middle Street. And there are more to come. The governor's goal is to reduce the homeless population by about 50% at the end of his term. So they're moving in that direction. That's it. Open to any related questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you. I think we have a couple questions online from board members. Okay, Francie.
Hi, Janelle.
Hi.
I work for a state contract position, and I have actually witnessed some of the maintenance people not disposing of specifically the fluorescent tubes properly. According to opala.org, it's supposed to go, well, the information's on the website, but I've seen them just place it in the dumpster, and that's actually a hazard. And I was wondering if there's anything you can do to follow up with maintenance departments that they know how to properly dispose of things like that.
Sure. You want to tell me what departments?
The facilities and maintenance department.
DAGs, under DAGs.
The
Department of Accounting and General Services. or any particular
Well,
department?
I'm under the state judiciary contract,
Oh, it's a judiciary.
and we have our own facilities department. But I don't know if other departments, other facilities personnel are doing it in any other um, state departments. So kind of just check all facilities workers that
Sure.
make sure they're disposing of things properly.
Sure. I can talk to you offline and maybe we can get more information.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Russell?
Ms. Sanaishi, I don't know if you remember, but it wasn't the last meeting, but it was the last meeting you attended, I think was the meeting before. I had inquired about, in connection with, what I was seeing is a lot of taxpayer funds going over the Maui fire victims for maybe rebuilding shelters and stuff, or temporary homes or even permanent homes. My question was about what happened to the homeowners insurance proceeds from these homeowners that are going to elect into the governor's plan to get these taxpayer funds to help rebuild or live in temporary shelters. And I was focusing on the insurance proceeds, homeowners insurance proceeds. And the question I really had in my mind was there adequate insurance, and is the homeowner going to be required to assign over those insurance proceeds if it's going to take taxpayer funds to perhaps help rebuild its property or its home?
It seems like what the funds that are being asked for or used now are for temporary housing to get them. So it's wouldn't be owned by the individual. So, but I can check again with the insurance commissioner about how they're going to do that.
Or whether there is any plan for the state to receive some of those insurance proceeds, or is it only, it's going to be the homeowner is going to get the insurance proceeds plus it's going to get a temporary housing? And right now, I believe a lot of them are living in those rental housings, maybe at the hotels and stuff at taxpayer costs. Is that right?
Okay, sorry, I need to check with how the insurance commissioner's doing that.
Okay, the insurance commissioner is handling that.
Well, yeah,
they're regulators normally.
They're yeah. So they would probably be the best. Right now, I guess they're just focusing on getting people in homes, into permanent, some kind of temporary housing rather than hotels. I know that DHS, some of the money is going to DHS to build a 450 unit small home plot or housing, and they should get it done. They said to have people come move in by April or May. So I think they're focusing on just getting people into housing now, and I think they're going to sort out the insurance issues later. But I know in the governor's budget requests, they did include a $200 million appropriation, or asking for an appropriation to supplement the risk management fund that the state has for claims against the state. So they expect more claims. So, but as far as individual housing insurance, I would have to check again. So sorry.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Lawrence, you can go.
As far as the claims, you have that money set aside to provide 1.5 up to 1.5 million for people who lost loved ones. As far as the state's perspective, do they consider they're taking like 50% of the blame? How much percent of the blame is the state taking? How much percent of the blame is Juan Electric looking at, and the other people who are getting sued? Is the state the one that has the deepest pockets, so they're taking like 75% of the blame?
Well, I'm not involved in that person.
Okay, Lawrence, do you have any follow-up to that or no?
She was coming in broken. I couldn't hear.
Oh, she said
Sorry.
she's not involved in that. Could you get a response for him, Janelle, maybe for next month? Can they hear me? Janelle? Oh, maybe she broke out. Lawrence, I think she might be having connection issues.
Okay, I did see the governor on that news interview, and it's very admirable as far as his approach to all those Maui fire victims. But at the end of the day, somebody has to be responsible to pay all those costs. So I'm just curious how the breakout's going to be if the deepest pocket, which is the state, will take the brunt of the burden.
Well, the state has asked for $65 million to put into the fund of a total of $175 million. That's a total of the fund. And from what I read from the news, that the contributors to that fund include Hawaiian Electric Company, 75 million, the Maui County, 10 million, Kamiya Schools, 17.5 million, and Hawaiian Telecom, 2.5 million. Maui West Land Company is contributing 2.5 million, and Charter Communications, which is Spectrum, will contribute 2.5 million to the fund. So the 75 million is the biggest contributor, which is Hawaiian Electric, and the state has asked for 65 million. But it's going through the legislature, and they're going to have to approve it. And so there was some questioning about the state liability, and from what the Attorney General says, it's not an acceptance of blame. They just want to assist the survivors and then possibly mitigate a long, drawn-out litigation issue. So that's what I know.
Because I'm concerned because precedence was already set because there are wildfires in California. So they already have precedence as far as state involvement versus the private company involvement. But seems like the way the state is approaching this situation in Maui is very different than what precedence was set in California.
Yeah, I saw that article too. But yeah, maybe, yeah. Go ahead.
To cover that. But yeah, I'm just concerned because at the end of the day, somebody has to pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Janelle. U.S. Representative Ed Case's office, Nestor. Is he online? Okay, moving down, District 15, Senator Glenn Wakai, not present. District
This is
16.
Bella.
Oh,
Sorry to interrupt.
yes.
For Ed Case, I forwarded his newsletter to Logan and Chair Wood to send out to the rest of the board.
Okay.
I forgot
Okay,
what was on his. He had links to a whole bunch of things, so I don't want to get into detail on that right now.
Wait, she said she doesn't want to or wants to?
No,
okay, no, I thought you said you did.
It,
Like,
it didn't.
Okay. Okay, it'll be in the shared drive.
Okay.
Eventually. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Senator Elefante.
Good evening, Chair Wood, Vice Chair Mizusawa, members of the Neighborhood Board, Brandon Elefante from the State Senate. Chair Wood, hope you feel better, get better soon. You do have my written report and we sent it out to the board members. I won't go into detail on it, so you can have the time to review that. But I just do want to highlight a couple of bills that are moving to the legislature that I did introduce in hearing from community concerns. Specifically, I think it has to do with speeding. One is a speeding camera enforcement program, similar to the red light camera program that we have on the island of Oahu. And then increasing fines in speeding in school zones. So both those Senate bills are in the House for further consideration for that. And so we are at the halfway point of the legislature. The Senate will be receiving the state budget, which we're going to review. So I want to thank my House counterparts, Rep. Aiea and Rep. Kong, for their due diligence and advocacy for a lot of the Aiea schools that are currently in the budget. So thank you to my House colleagues for that. And finally, in response to Board Member Higa, he asked about, are there specific laws as it relates to assaults against law enforcement? And so doing a search, yes, there is Hawaii Revised Statute 707-712.5 and HRS 707-712.6. 712.5 is first degree assault against a police officer. And I'm just reading this and I can send this to you, but since the question was asked and we found some information, basically assault in the first degree against a police officer is a Class C felony with a maximum prison sentence of 5 years and a fine up to $10,000, or a judge may sentence an offender to 5 years probation with a minimum of 30 days. That's for first degree. And the second degree is a misdemeanor with a mandatory minimum of 30 days and a maximum sentence of up to 1 year in jail and a $2,000 fine. Obviously, that's subject to the courts and how they decide that. With that, that concludes my report, and I want to wish all of you a happy early Easter.
Thank you, and thank you for being proactive with that response. Any questions for the senator? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Going down to State Representative Linda Ichiyama. Hi, Mitzi.
Hi, Board. So I'm here to take any questions or concerns back to Representative Ichiyama.
Board, any questions or concerns? Community? Okay, I don't think there's any.
Okay, nice to
Thank
see
you. All right, State Representative Micah,
Senator's better than me. I'm gonna sit down. Good evening, everyone, Chair, Vice Chair. I left my newsletter here. I think it's on the table. I don't know if it got passed around, but you can be sure to grab one on your way out. I did want to highlight there's an insert for you. This is the House budget that's going to get passed out tomorrow on the floor. And this is a summary of what's in the House budget. So you guys are probably one of the first ones to see it. But a pretty good summary of where the money is being allocated to each individual departments. So if you have any questions or comments, take it up with the Senate because it'll be moving over to the Senate after the floor vote tomorrow. I did want to highlight just some bills that I'm tracking. They're actually different than Senator Elefante's. So HB 2664 was a bill that the stadium Chris talked about earlier. I voted no on this bill. The House position is they want to take that money in the stadium and reallocate it to UH Manoa to do hardening. I'm not really sure what hardening is. We haven't been given a really good plan. And then use the rest of the money in the stadium to fund other capital improvement projects. So none of the money is staying with the NASED project, and I think that's a huge concern. So I voted no on that bill, but it's going to be moving over to the Senate, and I think Senator Rukai is going to be figuring out a solution for the stadium and trying to balance the budget. I also wanted to highlight HB 1653. This is for step increases for our public school teachers, which I think is really important, and we really need to be funding public school education and making sure that our teachers get progressive step increases for years of service, which they don't have right now. So I think step increases are really important. On the second page is just a follow-up on a community survey issue that a lot of people had questions about. It's on school uniform resource officers, essentially like armed security op guards or police officers in our schools. So I did a lot of research here on other counties and other states that employ these, kind of see the impacts of that. There are some social impacts. So you can take a look at that and just be a little bit more educated. I know Maui County uses these officers as well as some leeward districts use these officers. So it's a way to get educated to see if we want to step up protection in our schools and kind of the impact that would be to our students in the classroom. And that's pretty much it. So if anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Board, any questions? Online, no? Okay, thank you, FIU. Thank you for being
Thank
proactive
you
with
so much.
issues in our community. Next is Rep. Sam Kong.
Oh, hello, hey, Vice Chair. Should I call you Chair?
Vice Chair side.
Hope Steve's feel better. Oh, since everybody's talking about bills, I should say mine now. It's the GE tax on the medical professions, so that they won't have to pay. So that's kind of a hot topic now. But, oh, Bill Clark's gonna come. But what I wanted to get to was the CAM drive-in. I cleared up the misunderstanding between us, whoever, and Avalon. So we have started work on that. I don't know if you noticed, but most of the grass is cleaned up and then the graffiti's taken care of. That first day, we did 40 bags. I mean, huge, the contractor type bags of rubbish, just green waste. And Avalon was nice enough to pick it up for us. So everything turned out well. We're working with a good partnership. So we kind of painted out, the graffiti, but we only kind of blotched it. When we get enough paint, we're gonna paint the whole wall, of course, yeah? But still, in the meantime, we still have to take care of some of the sidewalks and stuff, the grass growing on it, so take some time, a few weeks already, so it'll get done sooner or later, but sooner the better. And
Yeah, the person that owns that property, is he putting money into that?
no, we are doing it pro bono, I guess. We are funding the bags and the paint so far. So,
Everything was all.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, somebody else can call. I don't want to.
I said I will try to. All.
Oh, very good, very good. Yes, I'd appreciate that.
I don't have any pull or anything else like that.
But
I've seen it face to face.
Oh, okay. But it's been doing, yeah, we're kind of equipped to do it anyway, so it's okay. But if you call, wonderful.
Yeah.
It'll help us, yes.
What's it to do with that?
Yes, definitely. That's it. That should, any questions?
Any questions, board?
Just a thank you to Mahalo for all the work you guys do. Oh, you're welcome. Yes. That's it?
Okay, thank you, Rep. Kong. Okay, going down to Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative, DDC Director Haku Mills.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and everyone. A lot of announcements, so I'll try to get through them quickly. For the mayor's newsletter, I put the link in the chat. Mayor's town hall meetings have returned. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg visits Oahu, city's first climate adaptation strategy and adoption by City Council, and Mayor Blangiardi commemorates Black History Month in Honolulu. I put the link in the chat. Please check it out. Meet your city officials. Mayor Blangiardi and his team will be on the road to visit communities on Oahu. There are 11 town hall meetings left, which will include an open Q&A session with Mayor Blangiardi and representatives from 25 city departments and agencies. Public is encouraged to attend to give suggestions on how this administration can better serve the people of Oahu. This list is available online, but the nearest to this neighborhood board is Thursday, April 4th, 6:30 p.m. at Salt Lake District Park Gymnasium. I forget where the last one was last year. But the list is available online. You can find a link at the newsletter. The issues. Kalawao Stream, Kalawao Springs Canal at Pearl Ridge cleaning. It was previously reported that DFM was supposed to be cleaning the canal January 2024, subject to the availability of crane equipment. at the Aiea Neighborhood Board meeting in February. Concern was raised that it was not cleared. Can we have an updated timeline? Response from DFM. DFM continues to have issues with the repair of the crane equipment due to parts availability and has not been able to utilize the crane to deploy heavy equipment in streams where access ramps are not available, such as this area. At present time, there remains a few locations that were scheduled ahead of Kalawao Springs. In discussing the crane repairs with city mechanics, it appears that the rescheduled date for commencing work will be the end of April. Request for DPP representative. This was in regards to the board and community's concerns with monster homes in the area and a request for a DPP representative to be present at tonight's meeting. Unfortunately, DPP was not available tonight, but Deputy Director Jiro Sumada can attend in April. Uline Street Traffic Mitigation, DTS shared previously that they're in consultant selection for the road, for the road diet along Uline Street. Board would like raised crosswalks to be considered along Uline Street. DTS confirmed that Uline Street, raised crosswalks along Uline Street will be considered as part of the road diet on this project. Left turns, no left turn sign when exiting Westridge Shopping Center onto Kahonohi Street. Member Lawrence Higa requested that a no left turn sign be installed for exiting Westridge Shopping Center onto Kahonohi Street. It was previously reported by HPD that Sergeant Paiva observed an OTS bus partially blocking the fire hydrant near Kahonohi Street and the bus station. This is a concern for the board. The buses here can limit access to the fire hydrant and create visibility concerns for drivers. DTS responded, was previously informed that the fire hydrant and sight distance for the middle driveway was blocked when the bus terminated at bus stop number 2591 fronting Westridge Shopping Center. Due to the bus stop being located Mackay of the fire hydrant. To mitigate this issue, in September, the bus stop sign was moved to a location 10 feet Malka of the fire hydrant, where the bus no longer blocks the fire hydrant and is further away from the middle driveway to increase sight distance. The bus drivers have been reprimanded to keep their buses Malka of the bus stop. I'm not reprimanded, reminded, I'm sorry. When terminating at bus stop number 2591. DTS conducted a review of the area's traffic collision history in the vicinity of the driveway serving the Westridge Shopping Center. Excuse me. The study did not find any trends related to vehicles turning left out of the driveway of the shopping center. As such, the installation of a no left turn sign is not warranted at this time. HPD also provided a response from February 23rd to the 28th of 2024. Sergeant Paiva of District 3 made checks in the area and found buses to be parked more than 10 feet from the hydrant. There are 3 driveways to and from the Westridge Shopping Center, and buses are not continuously parked there. One driver related that they are allowed only 1 5-minute break at a maximum at that site. March 1st, 3rd, and 4th, Sergeant Paiva made additional checks and found all buses legally parked away from the hydrant and not causing any blind spots for drivers. Officers will make periodic checks in the area to take appropriate enforcement action when violations are observed. That is my report, and happy to take any questions that you guys might have.
All right, thank you, Director Mills. Any questions for me? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry, Haku, real quick. Thank you for the update. I just wanted to clarify, it's not Kalawao Stream, though. It's on the other side of the road. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, sorry, we have a couple questions online. Francie and then Lawrence.
Hi, Haku. Just want to say thank you for that in-depth follow-up on the Westridge bus stop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lawrence?
Hey, Haku. I had another concern. You know the intersection Wanaloa and Kahonohi Street? When you come on Wanaloa heading eastbound or westbound, you got to jog over one lane because they offset the lanes at that area. Those offsetting lanes running through the intersection is all faded. You cannot really see it. the past weekend, there was a fender bender there because one of the cars went straight when they should have been veering to the right. Is there any way that you can restripe the intersection in that area?
Yeah, I'll talk with Department of Facilities Maintenance and see what can be done.
Yeah, because I noticed all the intersections that are heavily traveled, normally because of all the wear and tear from the vehicles, the striping near the intersection gets faded a lot quicker.
Just so I'm sure, what intersection is this?
Mauna Loa and Kaunohi.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Haku. Appreciate
Thank you.
the report. Councilmember Val Okimoto?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Vice Chair and Board and public who stayed. For the legislative update this month, we have we're in budget season. The projected operating resources for fiscal year 25 are about 3.96 billion. We have listed a budget breakdown within the newsletter, so you can take a look at that if you'd like. The City Council will be questioning administration and department directors on their budgets during the Committee on Budgets, happening currently now. Following these discussions, we'll propose amendments addressing, park repairs, community-specific needs, infrastructure, road repairs, and public needs such as fire stations. District updates we had about 10 calls and emails for this area by Aiea. Constituents were concerned about long grass along Kyle Street. We're still working with DPP to come in there, and it's on private land, so we're trying to work with them to get the owner to cut that grass over there. Another constituent was looking to get a stump removed. Tree had fallen in April of 2023. The crew couldn't get in there because of an electrical conduit running through the planting strip. We finally got a crew out there, removed the stump, and backfilled that with planting strip and soil. And finally, we had a constituent who walks through the parks in Aiea and Pearl City, notably Waiau District Park, Neil Bysdale Park, and Pearl City District Park. They had reported a large trash pileups. Got those taken care of for them. That should be it. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, thank you. Board members, questions? Okay, thank you. Councilmember Radiant Cordero?
Good evening, Robert Sato, once again with Councilmember Cordero's office. We've submitted her report to you electronically, but also dropping a link in the chat that you can look at it online. A couple of things to highlight. Speaking of faded road markings, we had a concern regarding faded road markings at Kaimakani and Unune Street. Working with Senator Elefante's office, we discovered that there's city responsibility as well as, I believe, state has a contractor working in the area, Sumo Builders. So if you take a look at the report, it shows you what the city is responsible for and what the Sumo Builders is responsible for and what will be repainted when construction in the area is completed. As Aaron mentioned, we are in the council's in review of the 2025 fiscal year 2025 budget. Briefings are going on right now. Councilmember Cordero is, as you know, the chair of the budget committee. Councilmember Okimoto is a member. They were in meetings yesterday from 9 to 5:30. They were in today from 9 to 6:30. Hopefully, they won't be that long tomorrow. So the briefings do continue. There are, as Aaron mentioned in their report, we also have highlights of the budget information in our report, and also the schedule of upcoming council committee meetings and council meetings. So you can take a look at that. If you have any questions, you can always call our office or email. I'm also available for any questions or concerns to bring back to the council member now.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Any questions, board? No? Okay, thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
We're almost done. Going down to reports, board member attendance at other meetings affecting IANB business. Anyone have anything to report? Okay, community reports, ACA, Claire's not here, but the next meeting is on the agenda. Committees, executive, not sure if Steve's still here, but okay, transportation, Kimo is also not here. Paul, Parks and Rec.
No report.
Planning and zoning, no. Rab, Mia, Francine.
Oh, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. 4 files regarding per and polyfluorinated substances, PFAS, was released. There's hard copies at the libraries available.
Okay, thank you. Red Hill Fuel Tanks, Tracy's not here. Education and culture, Danielle.
Yeah, so every first Saturday for the rest of the year, Aiea, the fish pond will be having their workday, and then every third Saturday, the Lo'i at Ka'onohi is having their workday.
Okay, thank you. Announcements, next meeting, April 9 at 7 in the library and via WebEx. Okay, if nothing else, we will adjourn at 9:26. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Very.
Oh, try to be. The what?
Oh, was that a big one? What? Where is it? Where is it?
What is it?
I don't know it. Oh, it made me scared.